had a very upset Facebook group member post in my group about a home that she recently purchased. She posted, "I got screwed by my realtor, inspector, and the sellers. I have only been in the house for 2 weeks and it's $30,000 worth of work due to water damage." So I wanted to take this opportunity to kind of talk you through some ways or some things that you can do when you're buying your first home. So hopefully, maybe not 100% we can prevent this, but hopefully this can be prevented for other first-time home buyers. I'm Shahida Hill, getting you over the hill to home ownership and helping you confidently buy your first home. So I want to talk to you a little bit about this buyer. So she was buying in Metro Atlanta. She was buying from out of state. So she was purchasing her home and moving to Georgia. And she used a real estate agent. She had a home inspector, but she felt like she got screwed by everybody. So I'm going to go over 3 things that you can do when you're purchasing a home, whether you're in the state or out of the state, to protect yourself. Because the $30,000, a big part of it was from water damage. The roof was leaking. It leaked into the house. So you have, damage to the structure. Maybe the drywall, walls had to be replaced, and maybe some mold remediation was in there as well. So she had a major bill. Like her comment said in the Facebook group, it was only 2 weeks after she closed. So let's talk about some of the things that you can do when you're buying your first home. Number 1, when you are hiring your inspector, your agent, so say you don't know an inspector and you're relying on your agent to recommend an inspector to you, your agent should never just recommend one inspector. They should give you a list of their recommended inspectors. On my list, I believe I have 6 recommended inspectors. Although if you followed me for a while, I've made some videos with Home Inspector Jamal. I've made 2 videos with him. He's done a lot of my inspections in the past, but I never tell somebody, oh, just use Jamal, right? I want you as a buyer to make your own decision as to the inspector you think is best for you. So it's up to you as a buyer. You need to protect yourself. You hire the inspector. My list may help you, but you still need to take some time and look through that list, decide whether you want to hire one of these people or you want to hire one on your own, but you make the decision of the inspector that you hire. I think she relied probably too heavily on the agent's recommendation. And to the best of my knowledge from the post that she gave in the Facebook group, the agent only recommended one inspector. And I believe that inspector and the agent had a relationship. And I don't know if they overlooked some things to get the deal closed. So you want to either use your own, just start searching online, as well as a list that your agent may give you. But if your agent just tells you one person to use, then red flags should go off in your head. Maybe that's one person you investigate, but then that means you need to find other inspectors to choose the inspector that you want to use. Then once you have this list, so say you have a list of 3 or 4, you want to research them. You should be looking at their Yelp reviews, their Google reviews. You should be looking at, their reviews, because a lot of times when people are unhappy, especially when people are unhappy, right? They go to Google and they try to, rate their business. They go to the Better Business Bureau and they may file a complaint. So you want to research them. Yelp, Google, Better Business Bureau, or BBB, those are some good places to start. And you want to make sure that you're looking at, number 1, at their reviews. If there is a licensing in your state for home inspectors, some states don't have any licensing requirements, but if there are some, then you want to look to see what kind of licenses the inspector has and that sort of thing. Now, like I said, in this example, what she said in her post was that once she had somebody else come look at the roof, they were surprised that it passed inspection. They were like, this roof should have never passed inspection. It was missing some of the flashing to avoid water getting into the house. So that was a big thing that the inspector overlooked or didn't see that sort of thing. And when she posted, she was really looking for legal help. So we're going to talk about that in a second. So number one, you want to hire your own inspector. You want to make sure you look at their reviews, any licensing before you go ahead and hire an inspector. Okay. And in the inspection report, if there is a problem with the roof, remember, the inspector usually is not a roofer. So if they feel like something is wrong with any major component, they'll tell you to get it looked at by a roofer, a licensed roofer, get it looked at by an electrician, get it looked at by a HVAC person. So your home inspection report is not going to tell you how to fix the roof. They're going to say, hey, it looks like the roof may have a leak. You need to go get it looked at by a roofer. So don't ignore that, right? You want to go ahead and go to that next step of hiring a roofer so that roofer can evaluate what needs to be done and what condition that roof is in. Your home inspector is just a generalist. They're going to look at the entire house, but if they raise some concern about any kind of major component and you're still interested in getting that house, you need to schedule for that electrician, that plumber, that roofer, the HVAC person. You need to schedule for that person to come out and do a special inspection just on that component. So that's number one. Make sure you have the inspector, you hire the right inspector and the right professionals for the job. Number two, smells. In this situation, a big part of the repair was water, roof damage, possible mold remediation, that sort of thing. Typically mold, moisture, mildew has a smell, and you could, think, oh, this home feels like, it has a moisture problem. Do not ignore your nose. If it smells like moisture or mold or mildew, there's probably a problem within that house. So you want to make sure you can get a separate mold inspection as part of your overall home inspection. If you have that time that you need, your due diligence period to do your inspections before you finalize or move forward with that contract. So you want to, talk to your agent. If this is a house that you want, you may want to schedule your regular inspection and a mold inspection if you think there's a possibility of mold based on, prior water damage. So if your inspector, they may say there might have been a previous leak here, previous leak there. If they have any evidence of leaks, then you may want to say, okay, let me have a mold inspector come out here, because if they had a leak, if they didn't properly remediate it, it may have led to mold. And your home insurance, when you are getting your home insurance quote, so don't wait on getting that quote. As soon as you're under contract, go ahead and get a quote with a home insurance company so you'll know how much your insurance will possibly be on that home. Also, they will run usually a CLUE report, CLUE, CLUE report, and they'll look at any past claims that the homeowner has made on that house. So if they've made any claims, any roof claims, any moisture claims, any of that, then they should have some information regarding that repair. So you want to make sure that you're following up, making sure you're getting that home insurance report. Ask them about the CLUE report. Have there been any claims for repairs on this house? You may be able to find out some more about that if they didn't disclose that to you as the seller. And now we're going to talk about, you've done the inspections to the best of your ability. You've checked out any smells as you're walking the house. You have your CLUE report, so you know if there are any claims that the previous owner made on that house. Number three is, say you did everything that you could do and you're still in the situation where you feel like owner, which is the seller, the inspector, or the real estate agent made some errors in helping you with this transaction. So the number one thing is you want to find the right lawyer, because this Facebook group member talked about trying to find a lawyer, but they were all closing attorneys, because in Georgia, you have to have a closing attorney when you're purchasing property. So we have a lot of attorneys that just do closings. They just facilitate the transfer of ownership. They don't litigate. They don't sue people. They don't, do the research to find out who's at fault. So she wasn't having any luck finding a lawyer because she was looking at a lot of closing attorneys. You want to go to the Bar Association, and they have a list of lawyers and their specialties. You want to, if you're still in a good communication with your agent, and they're trying to help you, then they can recommend some lawyers to you possibly that would work on the litigation side. And also, if you cannot afford that, usually legal aid, there's always legal aid in every major city. They'll have legal aid that if they can't represent you themselves, they usually help you if you have to file a lawsuit by yourself or take the seller to small claims court. So they can help you figure this out. So you want to, number one, make sure you have the right lawyer. If you're going to get a lawyer, or if you cannot feel like you can't afford a lawyer, then something like legal aid should be able to help you. You want to pull together all of your inspection reports, any emails between you, the agent, the inspector, their real estate contract, everything in the situation, because a lot of states are buyer beware states. Like, you should have done your inspection, you should have done this. And in this case, she did do it, but she feels like she was misled by the inspector. Like, the inspector should have known. Inspectors, for the most part, and real estate agents have insurance that covers them for errors and omissions, called E&O insurance. So they're covered if they make an error, if they make an omission, they're covered in their insurance policies. So if you do file a claim, you're possibly not even filing a claim against that individual. You may be filing a claim against their insurance, where their insurance will pay you once, maybe a court, or maybe you just file a claim directly with them, shows that they were at fault, that they should have known, right? They should have known that the roof wasn't in good condition. They should have at least said to you that, you should get this roof looked at, much more closely to make sure there are no leaks in it. So I would go ahead, try to find some legal representation. I know it's not the most affordable thing, right? Because the lawyer is going to charge you for this for the most case, but then you also have a $30,000 repair. So if nothing else, I helped another, not in my Facebook group, but she emailed me. It was another young lady who bought a house and had some septic tank issues. So I helped her go through the legal aid, helped her, know that she probably does have a case. And I'm not a lawyer. This is not legal advice. But I said, you need to find a lawyer. It looks like they didn't disclose what they were supposed to disclose to you. Then, she was able to navigate it, go ahead and sue the seller. She did it in small claims court. They helped her file the paperwork and do all of that. And they did find that the seller was liable because they should have told her certain things during the purchase of the transaction that they were aware of. So sometimes, again, depending on your state, there's an obligation for the seller to tell you what's already, if there are any existing problems with that property. So I want you, number one, to try to avoid this as much as possible on the front end by getting a good inspection, by questioning things, by making sure you research your inspectors and they're 100% on your side, right? You hired them, you're paying them to make sure you're buying a property that's not going to cost you a lot of money in repairs, in a short time period. We know homes are going to get older, you're going to have issues, but it shouldn't have these major repairs 2 weeks after you move in that you were not aware of. Because sometimes, you may say, well, why didn't her home insurance cover that? Depending on where the water's coming from, your home insurance may not cover certain situations. That's why it's very important for you to look at your home insurance policy to see exactly what it covers as far as water. Like, do you need a flood policy? Do you need another policy on top of your standard policy? But all of that is something that you can definitely do just to avoid these major repairs. And make sure that you have, this is the last part, make sure that you have an emergency fund, because while you're litigating, while you're doing all of these things, you still have to, in most cases, live in that house, pay that mortgage. So you're going to probably have to pay out of pocket until you can get it remedied by the court. So the example I told, about the person that did her own litigation with the septic tank, she had to pay to get the septic tank fixed almost immediately. That's how, all the sewage and all of that gets out of your house. So or all the waste gets out of your house. So she did have to pay for that up front, and then she was reimbursed by the seller when she got through the legal, the legal paperwork. So you're going to have to come into that situation with some money, right? Some kind of emergency fund. So at least it may not be that you can afford to, so $30,000, maybe you go ahead and stop the leak, get the roof repaired. Maybe you do some mold remediation so you're not injuring yourself and your family as far as your health. But then you have to wait to get it, where you're putting up the new walls and you're doing all of that stuff. You're going to have to see, because again, it's a big repair. So maybe not even, a 6-month emergency fund would have maybe even covered this repair. So, but you have to do something, right, to get it into a livable situation. If you have any questions, number one, make sure you're joining my Facebook group. There's always, some good discussions in that group. And if you have any questions about this situation and how you can avoid it, please put that in the comments as well. Thank you so much. Please like and subscribe to my channel for new videos every week.